Very good evening, guys. I hope am I audible to all my listeners. Welcome to this amazing session, which is dedicated to develop a very important skill that is answer writing. Okay, so in this video, we will be discussing one question related to Northeast insurgency, which is right now a very hot topic. And in this Northeast insurgency, we will see how we can approach our answer for the UPSC mains. Internal security is basically your part of GS3. Okay, GS3 internal security. Every year, around 50 marks of questions come from this area. So before we start this video, I would like to emphasize on the new upcoming courses that we have just launched on Unacademy. So Sriram IAS is a channel partner of Unacademy, which will give all the holistic preparation by the experienced faculties, which is led by none other than Sriram sir himself. So we have the complete coverage for prelims, mains, as well as your interview. Along with this, your optionals, essay, and other important areas such as continuous mentoring, daily answer writing, and every such stuff is covered in this subscription. So just use this code Srirams and you will get a flat 25% off on all subscription. By the way, this date is over, like as per this posters, it says that it offer ends at 31st July, but again it got extended for just 5 more days. So if you want to get this subscription, do subscribe to the Sriram IS at Unacademy with this code Sriram, SRIRAMS. So let us start today's discussion. Today's discussion is brought to you by me, Anshum Verma. I am a practicing advocate in Delhi, and these are my qualifications and credentials. I have a teaching experience close to 10 years now. So guys, the question for today's discussion is, what are the determinants of left-wing extremism in eastern part of India? That means particularly the question talks on the left-wing extremism in eastern part, along with the problems of this left-wing extremism in Northeast. So in this particular series, we will be in particular video in next 1.5 hours, we will be going through tackling questions related to insurgency in Northeast, or we will see that how we can write answers related to insurgency in Northeast. So I will discuss this topic from the scratch. Like I will tell you that what are the reasons for insurgency of Northeast, what is the historical background, what are the present problems that our Northeast India is facing. Okay, so every such aspect is covered under this video. So let us start. So before starting this, you should know a little about Northeast. So what is Northeast? What is the geographical extent of Northeast? Like the people, the regular people of India, they consider Northeast as one single part. They perceive every northeastern people as they are common, okay? And then we refer to them with some derogatory terms as well. But imagine that you are from India and you are not considered as Indian. Imagine the pain that you will go through. So every Northeastern friend feels the same. They feel a kind of a discrimination when they come to different parts of India. So before understanding the Northeast, we should know a little geography of Northeast. So Northeastern India is a region that is situated in the easternmost part of our country. Okay, it comprises of 8 states, Sikkim plus 7 sisters. So we all know the different 7 states of Northeast. It includes Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland, Tripura. These are your 7 states, and even Sikkim is counted as a part of Northeast. So if you want to reach these 7 states, you have to go through a very narrow 22-kilometer wide stretch, like this stretch that I'm talking about. This is known as the Siliguri corridor, or also referred as the India's chicken's neck. So this narrow passage of India's chicken's neck plays a very significant role, a very geostrategic role in connecting Northeast. So every portion of Northeast is connected through this route only. So we have our railways and roadways built through this route only. Okay, and why it is known as chicken's neck? Because it is, like, you will say that it is narrow, sir, and that is why it is called as chicken's neck. But the real answer is, it is not just narrow, but if you perceive this as a real chicken, it will be very much visible that it appears like a chicken, and that is why it is referred as chicken's neck. All right, moving further. Just a second. Yeah. So moving further, this complete Northeast, it covers around 8% of country's total area. Okay, it covers around 8% of country's total area, and it has around 4% of the national population. So a very small region having a good proportion of India's population. And the 99% of the border of this region lies as an international border. So there is a good portion of this, almost every state of Northeast, they share border with some foreign land. Like some share border with Bhutan, China, or Myanmar. These are the 3 prominent states, and then one in the south and the western part of these states, Bangladesh. So these are the international borders. So 99% of the international border are shared by these northeastern states. This northeastern state is a group or is a home to a very vast and most diverse ethnic groups in the world. So it is home to more than 475 ethnic groups in the country, which speaks around 400 languages. Okay, so the number of languages spoken by these people, each ethnic group has its own language, each ethnic group has its own culture, and all of these ethnic groups, they are fighting for the protection of their culture, their identity. Now, if you understand a little geography of Northeast, you can easily introduce these small areas or these small facts in your answer. So any answer related to Northeast insurgency, you can add all these little facts which I have mentioned in this slide. Then, depending upon the question, you can give some insight on the historical background. So, in the pre-independence era, when India was not independent, Northeast was considered as a part of the Bengal province. It was known as the northeastern frontier for the Britishers. And when it is part of your Bengal province, tribal groups constituted an overwhelming majority of the population, and in the most of the area they inhabited. So it is the tribal groups which dominate this region. So earlier, the colonial Britishers were, extracting all these resources. They were cutting down the forest. They were utilizing Northeast as a mere with a mere agenda of resource extraction. They are looking at Northeast for their own benefit. So the Britishers have isolated Northeast. They never allowed any other any other people entering there, any other political group making their presence in Northeast. So they majorly they secluded that area for their own interest. However, in the same in the similar lines, they never allowed anyone other than the Britishers to enter that region. On the similar line, they allowed Christian missionaries to go and work there, and to help people to in order to spread of Christianity in that region. And the result is, like, if you see the demographic result of this brainstorming by the Britishers, states like Mizoram, Nagaland, Meghalaya, majority of the population in these states are Christians. Okay, like how these Christian missionaries, they attract people. They have opened school, they have opened hospitals, they are providing all those basic necessities which are required, and which the government has failed to provide till now. This is the reason why you will see that even the Northeastern, they always feel that there is a feeling of separation, or there is always a feeling of neglect from the center. So what has happened in the post-independence era? So after being exploited, like every other geographical part of India was exploited, just like that, even Northeast was exploited. So in the post-independence era, what was the political orientation of the Northeast? So in Northeast, there were one prominent state that was carved, and that was Assam. And then there were two princely states, Manipur and Tripura. Rest all other states that you presently know, they were part of Assam only, or they were recognized as Assam. It was also called as the Northeast Frontier Region, NEFR. So the states of Tripura and Manipur were union territory till 1972. And in 1972, they become the first states that have been carved out, or first regions that have been given a status of states in Northeast. Rest, all these areas like Nagaland, Meghalaya, Arunachal, they were known as the Assamese only. Now imagine that your orientation, your culture is way different from what the people of Assam follow, but you are recognized as a Assamese. So don't you think it will be a question mark on your identity? So the integration of these distinct culture of Northeast into the mainstream was generally met with resentment. Like everyone, if you would like to, you know, ask a Naga to work for the Assami government, he will be very hesitant in doing this. Why? There will be a resentment. Like he would not want him to be recognized as a Assami. Rather, he would want that he should be recognized as a Naga with his own ethnic identity. So all these tribals, they were afraid of losing their identity, and they were afraid of being assimilated by the policy of assimilation in government jobs and other professions. So this further, strengthened that feeling of separation. This strengthened the feeling of resentment among the people. Then what are the other factors which are responsible for the spread of insurgency in the Northeast? There are factors like complex topography. So a major portion of Northeast even today is highly forested. There are high mountains and valleys which are very difficult to cross. So mountainous region. Then along with the mountainous region, you will see there are, marshy lands covered with water, and then it is continuously raining. So a typical tropical type of a climate is again one of the factor that is responsible for Northeast, because this complex topography will hinder the development. And when there is no development, you will see the feeling and the tension will rise among the people, among the different ethnic groups. So the next issue is that all these ethnic groups, they have a issue among each other. That means they are fighting among each other, as well as they are fighting collectively with the state, with the government of India, with the government of state. So imagine the chaos and the confusion there. So all the tribes, like each state has different tribes. Like for example, Manipur right now. So broadly, Manipur is divided into two tribes, the Metis and the Kukis. But do you think that these are the only two tribes living in Manipur? Answer is no. Manipur has some population of Nagas. Manipur has some population of Kukis coming from Myanmar. Then even Metis, some Metis are Muslims, some Metis are Hindus, and then some Metis are Christians. And in Kukis also, some Kukis are Naga, some Kukis are Christian, some Kukis are from Myanmar, and each have their own culture, own identity. So all these different tribes, they are having conflict with each other, as well as they are having conflict with the government, with the state government, and also with the central government. So this will make the condition in the Northeast very hostile. Then the next issue is lack of development. Developmental issues, like there is lack of roads, lack of railway, lack of energy, no power. Like even today, not all capitals of Northeast are connected with railways. Just 1 month back, do you remember? There was an issue that the flight tickets to Northeast was touching around 60 to 70,000. The flight tickets were touching 60 to 70,000. So imagine that how much, like in this price, you can reach Europe. Many countries in Europe, it will take around 60 to 70,000 rupees to reach Europe. And on contrary, you are paying 60 to 70,000 to reach Northeast. So imagine this lack of development, which creates a major issue, for the Northeastern people. Like there is no industry. So when there is no industry, do you think that the people of Northeast will get jobs, or the people of Northeast can work here and there? So in answer writing, you can add all these points and you can elaborate these factors for your answers. Okay, like Northeast insurgency is quite expected this year, especially Manipur. So you can all add all these factors responsible for Northeast. Then the ideological impact. So the people of Northeast have that ideological impact, like they consider themselves as separate from the others. So their ideological orientation towards the Maoism, towards extremism, is one region that have attracted them to create problems there. Then regional aspirations. So like I have already told you, there are different groups, different ethnic groups there. Each ethnic group has its own regional aspiration. Some want a separate administration for themselves. Some want their status to be declared as a tribal status. Some want their status to be declared as a scheduled caste. So each ethnic group there has its own regional aspiration. Next, factional fighting. Like within one group, there are different subgroups, and these subgroups are fighting with each other. Like I will elaborate this in particularly I will elaborate this in your Naga issue. Okay, because Nagaland or the Naga insurgency is said to be the mother of all insurgency in India. So any answer is incomplete if you not add Nagaland as a part of your answer. Then you can add lack of governance. So in a political administrative arrangement made by the center, there is always a lack of governance. Like you see, Delhi is far away from Northeast, not just in terms of the geographical distance, but also in terms of in terms of the representation. So like how many people is far away, how many people, or does Northeast has a proper representation in the center? Like, do we have enough number of seats in Lok Sabha for them? Do we have enough number of seats in Rajya Sabha for them? So this is you can consider this as creating distances, not just the political geographical distances, but this has resulted in creating political distances as well, geographical plus political. So these points you can add in your answers as a factor responsible for insurgency in Northeast. All these factors you can add. Lack of governance means there is no political representation which it is made by the center for the Northeastern people. Then one issue that you can get a question separately and we can learn this as a separate topic. AFSPA, Armed Forces Special Power Act. So this in itself is one of the issue that has the highest resentment. We will discuss this as an issue. Maybe you can add one paragraph on AFSPA in any question related to Northeast. Then guys, there are other issues such as lack of media support. Like for example, Manipur issue. Like Manipur is burning, many media channels are, explaining this news as there is nothing new in this type of issue which is happening there. However, if you see the atrocities which is happening in Manipur as of now, the civil war kind of a situation which is happening in Manipur, basically, if we consider it this way, like there are many such past instances of similar impact that has been reported in the past. But the problem was the central media, the national media never paid attention to all these issues. So it is, the penetration of internet, the penetration of technology in different part that has resulted in, even the national media covering this, because now the information circulates very fast. So it is because of this you will find that now Northeast is getting a decent media support. Even national media is covering Northeast. They are talking on Northeast. But the problem is their knowledge on Northeast is limited because they never involve stakeholders from Northeast. Like you will find, like in any issue, like any Hindu Muslim issue, you will find experts coming from both the sides and giving their opinion. And then there will be experts from the government side, some administrator, some ex DGP, who will also give their opinion how to tackle law and order situation. But in any of the media debate related to Northeast, have you seen some representations of different groups coming to national media and giving their side of story? Answer to this question is a big no. Then another factor which is responsible for insurgency in Northeast, you can add the idea of self-determination. Okay, the idea of self-determination. So basically, all these Northeastern people, they consider themselves as they hold a natural right as a son of a soil. So they do not want outsiders to come in and basically challenge their integrity, basically change the orientation there. So migration is also one important issue that you can add in any answer related to Northeast. So now, after analyzing that different factors, a little historical background, let's say a question comes on Northeast for 250 marks, where the question is a general question. Okay, the general question is there, not targeting any particular state like Manipur. So the answer has to cover all different issues related in Northeast. Like you have to give a reference of Manipur a little, you have to give a reference of Nagaland a little, and then other issues. So I will discuss some issues in this video, and we will discuss some issue in some other videos related to Northeast. So particular to Northeast, I will start with the issue of Nagaland, and then I will come to the issue of Manipur. So right now there are two important places, or you can say the states which are very vulnerable to all these tensions. And the biggest of, like, the problem in Nagaland is even bigger than what it is in Manipur. However, the government has signed all the agreements to settle down Nagaland. So let us first study Nagaland and then I will come to Manipur as an issue. So when it comes to Nagaland, like I have just told you, Nagaland was a part of Assam after independence. Nagaland, the present state of Nagaland, was part of Assam. So all the inhabitants of that region, they were called as the Assamese. But Naga in itself is not just one single tribe. There are different diverse groups among Naga. Okay, there are several tribes in which are recognized as Naga overall, but in itself they are way too different. Okay, so the demand for a separate state, like there are different demands that are coming up from Nagaland. Some demand a separate state, some demand a separate country, and then some demand a greater Naga limb. Okay, some demand a greater Naga limb. Now, what is greater Naga limb? Basically, it includes all the areas where all your Nagas reside. So, let's say there are some Nagas living in Manipur. So, they want to include those areas of Manipur in Nagaland. There are some Nagaland living in Tripura. They want to include those areas of Tripura in Nagaland. So each ethnic group in Nagaland has their own unique demand. So what is the history of this Nagaland issue? Guys, the first time in 1946, this issue started, where Naga National Council, under the leadership of a very prominent leader, Angami Zapu Fizo. He was the guy who has initiated a Naga independence during the time of independence only. So when India was getting freedom from the Britishers, Nagaland started working under Angami Zapu Fizo. They started their own agenda for getting freedom from the main Indian land. So they declared Nagaland as an independent state on 14th August 1947. So they established NNC, Naga Nationalist Council. They established Naga Nationalist Council, which will resolve to establish a sovereign Naga state. Their main agenda was to establish a sovereign Naga state, and then they conducted a referendum as well in 1951. And the result of that referendum was where 99% of the people of Nagaland, they supported for independent Nagaland. But by now, Nagaland was part of Assam. Politically, it is still part of Assam. So that feeling of alienation is still there. Moving ahead, then in order to settle down this issue, the first such attempt was done by the Congress government, where Shillong Accord was signed in 1975, where like it was, we convinced Nagaland to, if they give up the demand for a separate country or secession from India, we will give them some constitutional guarantees and we will make a separate state for them. This we have planned for, this we have agreed for the Nagaland. So there was an agreement which was signed between Government of India and the underground government of Nagaland, okay, which is referred as the Naga federal government, because during this time we were not conducting elections there, or even if there were elections, there were so much of problems in conducting this election because of the various factors that I have mentioned earlier. So in this agreement, the underground government accepted the supremacy of the constitution, and then they surrendered their arms to, and they renounced their demand as a separate, separate state. Okay, but their demand for more constitutional freedom was still there. And that is why we have added the tribal regions of Nagaland under 5th schedule and 6th schedule. You all know that separate schedules have been formed under 6th schedule, autonomous council. Okay, they get more constitutional, freedom in terms of autonomous regional councils. And these regional councils, in these councils, they can frame laws for themselves. They can, frame laws to raise revenue. They can spend that revenue, and along with that, they get special, aid coming from the government. Next, Naga Peace Accord. After 1975, the next accord happened in 2015. Now, it was again considered to be a very important accord, where it was signed in August 2015 by the Government of India and Naga Socialist Council, National Socialist Council of Nagaland. NSCN stands for National Socialist Council of Nagaland. This is something that you can add in your answer. You can briefly mention Shillong Accord. You can briefly mention the last important agreement, that is the Naga Peace Accord. Okay, so under this Naga Peace Accord, you can give a brief writing, like this was signed in 2015, which recognizes the unique history of Naga and the universal principles that in a democracy, the sovereignty lies with the people. So they basically retracted their approach to, to make Nagas believe in the constitution. But the problem of National Socialist Council of Nagaland is that there are different ethnic diverse groups within NSCN. Like even today, NSCN is divided into so many groups. And the problem is now that if the government wants to renegotiate, with these Nagas, the problem is, like, there are so many groups who we should come and talk to. The problem is, like, if we talk to one group, the others will hate it. They will create problem. They will create insurgency. And if we talk to one of them, then the main party will become hostile. But in this accord, all major factions, they have given up their demand for Greater Nagaland. So what was the demand of Greater Nagaland? Like they were demanding all those areas where Nagas are living should be included in Nagaland. So let's say there are places of Manipur where Nagas staying, Tripura where Nagas staying, Mizoram, Meghalaya where Nagas staying. Like if you include all these areas, don't you think there will be a problem that will start in all these areas? Their tribal groups and their people will then can move to raising arms against the government. This can happen. So this accord has proven to restore peace, and it has paved way for prosperity in Northeast. It will basically advance the life of dignity, opportunity, equity for the Naga people based on their genius and consistent with uniqueness of Naga people and their culture and traditions. So that is why this Naga Peace Accord is important. The next, what has happened after the post signing of the agreement? Like after that, till now, there is no talks happening. Like the talks which were supposed to happen in 2019, it got suspended due to uncontrollable situation in the country, that was COVID. So from COVID till now, all the talks right now is kind of suspended. Now, the problem, the government's attention is more towards Manipur because the problem is, quite high there. So there is no further peace agreements that right now, which is like there are some back channel diplomacy which is happening, but there is no direct engagement that we can see in future that government is signing with the Naga people. So what has happened? There are enlarged peace talk processes. Like there were talks that expanded in 2017. The government tried to talk to all different Naga groups which were creating problems earlier, but again with no conclusion. Then bilateral to multilateral negotiations the government has also tried these negotiations. So the overall framework agreement to have bilateral truce between two entities, but right now this bilateral agreement has turned out to be a multilateral because there are more than one group. So earlier it was a bilateral engagement. Like if you see the Naga Peace Accord, the engagement was with Government of India, with the NSCN, the National Socialist Council of Nagaland. The talks were bilateral. But now we have different groups coming up. Like for example, the NSCN-IM. Then there is NSCN-IK. Depending upon different political leaders under the same National Socialist Council of Nagaland, there are different groups that has been formed. Then guys, one more issue is that after 2019, there is no talks that has been, carry forward now. So there is a deadlock where some groups of Nagaland were demanding their separate flag. Like this separate flag will further instigate the, feeling of separation, the feeling of the son of the soil as a concept, the right to self-determination. So don't you think all these issues will further create problems in future? So right now the talks are suspended. One because of the COVID, and second because many such factions, they are demanding a separate flag for themselves. Then there is issues of sovereignty and integrity. Like for example, there has always been a debate and controversy about interpretation of sovereignty. Like Naga Independence Day speech by their chief, this Tualag Muiwa, they explain sovereignty in a very different way. Okay, and what is the meaning of sovereignty for the regular rest of the Indians? It is different. Then surrender of weapons. So right now there is one more issue which is there, that all those active insurgent groups in Northeast, if they feel that we want to surrender, so there is no proper surrender policy which has been given by the central government. Okay, so this lack of surrender policy also forced all these insurgent groups to carry on the insurgency in these regions. And then at last, why the insurgency in Nagaland is not ending? Because obviously there is a role of external factors. Like most of the Northeast has a porous border. Porous border is highly vulnerable because in porous border you will have all the illegal trade happening, like trade of weapon, trade of drugs. All these things will ultimately promote insurgency. Then the role of China, like to create a instability in Northeast. There are reports where ex-military officers of China are involved in training militant groups of Northeast. And then the jungles of Myanmar at times act as a hiding spot for different tribal groups, or the insurgent groups rather, not tribal groups. And right now the same factors are the same factors are being reported in the present Manipur issue. Okay, the same factors are there. So moving ahead, what is the solution? Like guys, all these solutions you can even apply for Manipur. You can even apply for Nagaland. So these are some generalistic solutions that you can cut, copy, paste in all the answers. Like for example, issue of Manipur and Nagaland. Don't you think a proper understanding of the tribal issue will solve the problem? All the stakeholders like the Assam Rifles there, the armed forces there, if they understand what is the real issue, the tribal issue, how there is a trust deficit between both the tribal groups, the Metis and Kukis. If you understand that, then it is better to resolve that issue. So there is a need to develop a greater understanding of the issue, especially on the tribal factor and changing aspirations of the societies. We will discuss Manipur issue in detail. Okay, let's see if we can discuss that in this video, or maybe in one more answer writing session I will come up with discussing the Manipur issue as a separate topic, that what could be the solution. The next is promoting open channel dialogue. Like, what do you mean by open channel dialogue? Like, you should involve all important stakeholders. All important stakeholders, like you involve in civil society groups, you involve the local leaders, you involve the leaders of insurgent groups. Let us come and sit down and resolve our issue with discussion, with healthy with healthy discussion and a good debate, so that we can have a long lasting peace. Because all these petty issues, all these factional disturbances will further make the things worsen. Then one more solution could be recognizing the unique history of culture of all these tribal groups. Like, many times we consider all the Kukis, we treat them as all the Kukis are from Myanmar. No, not all the Kukis are from Myanmar, although majority of the Kukis are, they were brought in from Myanmar. But again, even Kuki have many different type of tribes. Some are native to Manipur. Like in this case, there are many tribes which are native to Nagaland. So if you recognize their history, their culture, their territorial extent, if you it is like appeasing them, making them feel happy about it. Okay, so with this positive attitude, you can solve the northeastern problem. Then maximum decentralization of power. Now this is something that we can do. Decentralization even till the village level. Decentralization at all the 3 tiers of the government will in a way help to increase the local participation in the decision making. Then proper peace framework. So like in order to establish a proper peace framework, you should ensure that settling one area should not disturb the political boundary of the other areas. This is also you can add in your answers. Like, let's say in order to resolve the Kuki and the Methi issue in Manipur, you cannot change the demography of Manipur, or sorry, the political boundary of Manipur. Because if you attempt, other states will be hampered. And when other states will be hampered, ultimately, what will hamper? It will basically, it will rather, create problems in the other state. And, ultimately it will be destabilizing the peace. Then providing autonomy. So whether you are giving solutions in your answer for Nagaland or solutions for the Manipur, you can bring in peace by giving more autonomy. Like this is what even the cookies are demanding. So rather than giving a separate autonomous, recognition to both the tribes, it is more important that if we establish a common framework where a kind of autonomy is shared among different communities, this is how we can solve the problem. Then constitutional guarantee. So like any kind of solution that we are giving them, like 371 article of Indian Constitution gave special recognition to all these states of Northeast. So if we can give them proper constitutional guarantee, so a new body should be constituted that would look into the rights of the Nagas in the other northeastern states beside Nagaland. So let's say the people of Nagaland are getting benefits from the constitutional mechanism, from the deals with the government, but the Nagas of different places are not receiving the same. So they will then create the problem for you in future. So we have to establish a kind of a constitutional guarantee for different factions, for different for different approaches. Then guys, there is also a need to take consent of all the Naga leaders. Like there are different factions. The government cannot rush in deciding on the issue. Okay, the government cannot, they cannot proceed with, declaring any issue just like that. So then what we need is proper deliberation, discussion among all different factions of Nagaland. Then guys, in the answer writing discussion, especially in internal security, one important reason or a question that can come, the question can be Manipur specific, and then the question can be a holistic targeting Northeast. But in both of the references, you have to add Manipur as an issue. So in the remaining portion of this video, I will be elaborating on the Manipur issue. So we will see the history, what is the current issue, and then this is how you will write. You will write a little about the history of the issue, what is the present issue, and then how we can resolve this issue in future. So there have been violent communal clashes in Manipur. Why this debate started? Because in Manipur High Court, there was a judgment that came in which has directed the state to pursue a 10-year-old recommendation to grant ST status to a non-tribal Methi community. So there was a demand for this ST status, with which Methi community will be included in this, and then Methi community will get all the benefits of the ST community. So the violence escalated when all tribal student union of Manipur, they organized a tribal solidarity rally against the alleged move to include Metis in the ST list. Like, before understanding this issue, you understand that what is the ethnic composition of Manipur. You should understand what is Manipur. So Manipur as a state is like a, geographically it is like a football stadium. So you have that Imphal Valley in the center, and surrounding from all the sides there are the hills. The valley contributes 10% of the Manipur's landmass, whereas it is dominated by a non-tribal Methi group, which accounts for 64% of the population. So the problem comes from here. So Methi, which lies in valley, they are 64% in population, but they are confined to only 10% of the landmass. However, because of the population, like in India, the seats are allocated on the basis of population. So Metis have more representation in the Legislative Assembly. So there are 40 MLAs out of the total 60 MLAs in Manipur. Then the hill region, it comprises 90% of the geographical area, which is inhabited by more than 35 recognized tribes, but they have only 20 MLA to the assembly. Like, majority of the Metis are Hindus, but there are a good portion of Metis who are Muslims. And then there are 33 recognized tribes, which can be broadly classified into any Naga tribe, Kuki tribe, and most of them are largely Christians. So there is a religious mix. Along with religious mix, there is caste-based mix and the tribe-based mix. So this creates a whole sort of a khichdi in Manipur when it comes to the human geography or the demography of Manipur. Then, after understanding the overall demography, the next is there are total 16 districts in Manipur, but the state is commonly divided into valley and hill. Like, this is what I have just told you. So the valley districts are Imphal East, Imphal West, Tobal, Bishnupur, Kaching. All these are the part of your old erstwhile kingdom, Kanglik Park kingdom. Okay. So these Metis, they have a stronghold in the valley. So the Manipur Valley is encircled by hills, and on hills you have Naga tribes. Naga tribes, which are Chin, Kuki, Mizo, Zomi groups, which are broadly, they are Kuki, but under Kuki there are different type of people. So this valley people, the Kanglik Park people, they used to be raided by the Nagas during the ancient time. जो नागा ट्राइबल लोग थे इन वैली पीपल पर अटैक करते थे. So in order to balance the situation, to save them from the Naga tribal attacks, the Britishers, they approached the Kuki Zomi tribe of Myanmar, and they want them, they forcefully, like they influence these Kuki Zomi to come and establish their settlements on the hills region. Now, all these Kuki-Zomi tribes, they are also very ferocious, and they acted as a buffer to protect the valley from any kind of plunders. So the Kukis are also like Nagas. They are head hunting warriors. Head hunting means they can kill even man. So the Maharaja gave them land along the ridges so that they can shield the Imphal Valley below. So all these Kukis which are present today, they act as a buffer to the valley. This is how the history started. Then there is slowly and slowly you will find there is a Kuki Methi divide that will happen. So the hill communities which are dominated by the Nagas and Kukis, the Methis have the ethnic tensions. So the Naga, the movement for independence has triggered all these demand for separate kingdom even in Manipur and in these tribes. So all these Kuki, they want their own land, which is known as the Kuki land. It is again a separate kind of a state. And then even Methi, they also wanted a different land. So the Hindu Methi, they clashed with the Pangals, that were the Muslims, and there were horrific violence that was recorded between Nagas and Kukis as well. So hundreds of Kukis massacred in one single day by Nagas, and then thousands were driven from their homes. So in 1993, all these disturbances, it started in Manipur because all of them were influenced by the Naga separation or the Naga freedom which is happening, like what I have already explained earlier. So the district of Chura Chandpur, like this is the same district which is right now, which is the most violence affected districts of Manipur. So the Kuki Zomi, they dominate in this region. They are mostly Christians. So it is one of the most poorest districts of our country. So when there is poverty, there is a chance of social exploitation. So in 2015, the Metis of Valley, they protested demanding ILP, that is the inner line permit. And then there were intense protests that were seen in all these districts, where the Kukis were residing. So this has created an issue. Then what is the Methi argument to support the demand of ST? Methi are, they are demanding the ST status. So the Scheduled Tribe Demand Committee of Manipur, they began demanding the ST status for Methi in 2012. So Methis are recognized as a tribe before the merger of the state with Union of India. They were recognized as a tribe. So the ST status is needed to preserve the community and to save the ancestral land and their tradition. So that is why they are demanding. So guys, Metis were recognized as a tribe before the merger of the state, and they wanted to, continue with this tradition. In 1972, when Union Territory of Manipur becomes the 19th state of India, so the Metis need a constitutional safeguard against the outsiders. They wanted their community to be protected, just like what even Kukis are demanding. So the community has been kept away from the hills, like they were not allowed to take land on the hills, because guys, see, Metis are confined to the valley. So majority of the population are confined to the valley, and valley has just 10% of the land. So obviously there will be a land crunch, there will be a shrinking in Fall Valley. So the Kukis never allowed Metis to capture land on the hills, and this created problem. Okay, so this will further create problem. So the Metis have been gradually marginalized in their ancestral land. Their population is 59%, but out of the total population of Manipur, but now it has been reduced to 44%. That means there is a significant increase in the population of the Kuki population because of the migration, because of, let's say, more population control among the Metis. So the Naga and the Kuki movement has fueled the Metis nationalism, and then they also started demanding, their rights to conserve their identity. So during the period of 2006 to 12, the demand for inner Rhine permit in Manipur has increased because they want to limit the influx of outsiders. And like I have told you, because Manipur has a porous border with Myanmar, so the Kuki Zomi people, they move very freely in and out. So it is believed that during the crisis year in Myanmar, many Kuki population along with Rohingya population have been keep on coming in, and they started making up their settlements in the hill region of Manipur. So the growth rate of Manipur's population has jumped from 12.8% in 1941-51 period to 35% during 1951-61, and then it is continuously increasing even in the next year. So in Manipur, the government is the only employer. So the people of Manipur has the only option but to appear for the government exam. There is hardly any industry. So what will be, how other people will, depend on their livelihood. So in Manipur, the government is the largest employer, and the reservation, there is a reservation for the STs in jobs that amounts to an unfair advantage. Like if Metis will also have the ST, right? The Kukis will face that it is a like Kukis and Nagas are already under the ST category. They are under the reservation. So the same will be applied to the Metis. So it means that everyone will have the reservation. So when everyone has reservation, it is equal to that no one has any kind of reservation. Then lack of infrastructure like no railways, it further, increase the insecurity among the people. Then why tribal groups are against them? So the Metis have a demographic and political advantage. Like I have told you, they are more in numbers, right? And then political advantage, they have more representation. They have more representation in terms of uh, political representation, because we have seen, like, out of 60, 40 representation comes from there. So this will ultimately lead to loss of job opportunities for the cookies. And once they will get that SC status, they will be allowed to acquire lands in the hills, and then they will push all those tribal peoples out. Then one more issue is that the language of Methi people, it is included in the 8th schedule. Okay, it is included in the 8th schedule, and they already have the benefits of SC, OBC, and EWS. So the cookies, they have only access to the ST as a reservation. So they point out that 90% of the Kuki and Naga point out that the tribal areas are 90% of the state's geographical area, but the major bulk of the budget and the development happens in the valley region. So this is further, which is creating a issue. Okay, so what is the process of inclusion of these Methi tribes in the, let's say, in the national ST list? How they will be included? So first, the state government will give its recommendation for the inclusion of the tribe in the ST list. Then after that recommendation, the recommendation of the state government, the tribal ministry, the recommendation will reach tribal ministry. The tribal ministry will review it, and then it will be sent to the Registrar General of India under Ministry of Home Affairs. So after getting the approval of Ministry of Home Affairs, it will be then sent to the National Commission of the Scheduled Tribe, and when National Commission on Scheduled Tribe will review it, then it will be sent to the cabinet. And once cabinet gets its final approval, then a bill is introduced in the parliament to amend the constitution of 1950 and the constitution of Scheduled Tribe Order of 1950. With this amendments, you will see that then the name of that tribe will be added after the president's assent to the bill. So after the amended bill is passed by both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, the President Office takes the final decision under Article 341 and 342 of Indian Constitution. So this is how the Methis will finally be included in the list. Then guys, what are the reasons for the recent unrest? So like you understood the issue. So the forest eviction and the demand for ST status for the Methi have been the most prominent and the recent triggers. Like Methis are demanding ST status and they are being removed from the forest areas. This is creating a divide between Methis and the Kukis. It is also believed that all these Kukis are involved in the illegal drug opium trade. So their involvement in such trade is also, they are utilizing that money to buy arms for the insurgent groups, which all these insurgent groups ultimately, create problems for the Methis. This is again an allegation by the Methis towards the Kuki groups. Then one more issue is the issue of delimitation. So in 2020, the center began its first delimitation progress because in Manipur, the delimitation was stalled since 1973. Now the problem is that the Methi community wants the census figure of 1973 is used in this exercise, which do not reflect their population breakup. So they want that the current status or the current data of I hope you know what is delimitation. Delimitation is fixing up the constitution or the constituencies. Okay, that how many constituencies will be made, what will be the overall breakup. It is done in such a way so that the population in each constituency remains the same. So the tribal groups, Kukis and Nagas, on the other side, they had grown to 40% of the state population, but they are underrepresented in the state assembly. Their data has increased, but the government is using the census of 1973. So their population have also increased in these years. Then the Manipur is also facing issues of migrants. Like in February 21, again there has been a change of change of course of governance in Myanmar. A military coup has happened, so which has created a refugee problem in Northeast. There are good number of Rohingyas bombarding into different states. Then this Chura Chandpur district is witnessing sudden burst of migrants coming in from Myanmar. Which is again creating problem for Manipur. So then the first violent protest erupted over eviction of the residents of the Kuki village. So the Methi people, they demanded that all the residents of Kuki village should leave that place. So there are 38 villages in Chura Chandpur and Khopam protected forest area where illegal settlements are being there. And the government started removing all these illegal residents which came from Myanmar as per the government, and they are involved in poppy plantation or the opium plantation. So all these residents, all these encroachers are basically using those protected areas for the drugs. And with the drugs, they are utilizing that drug money to carry out further, tensions in the Northeast. So the Kuki groups have claimed that the survey and eviction of their people is the violation of the special provision, the constitutional guarantee that they get under Article 371, subclause C, which recognizes Kukis as the resident of hill area. But the Methi and the government says that the people that we are, removing are not Kuki, but they are the people from Myanmar. But again, this tribal sentiment and different type of, religious, regional, ethnic, ethnic assimilation results in creating all these problems. So Article 371 provides for creation of a committee of Manipur Legislative Assembly, consisting of members elected from the hills, and governor will be responsible for the proper functioning of that committee. And this hill area committee has a very wide power. So at state level, the hill area committee constituted under Manipur Legislative Assembly, Hill Area Committee Order of 1972. These committee comprises of all the elected MLAs from the hill areas of the state as its members. So the decision related to all these areas lie with this committee only. So the state government can withdraw from suspension of operations agreements with two Kuki groups accused of inciting the protesters. So basically two Kuki groups which are dominant in this Chura Chandpur Kopam district was the main reason that how they have instigated the protest. So what is the solution? What is the way forward? So there is a need to evaluate the criteria of ST status for Methi, because this is the biggest area of problem between both the tribes. So there is what we need to evaluate this as per the local committee, which recommended 5 criteria for the identification of STs. First, their primitive traits, distinct culture, geographical isolation, shyness of contact with community at large, and their backwardness. Then there is Bhuria Commission, which focused on a wide range of issues from the 5th schedule to the tribal lands and forests. So, like all these tribal places, they are deprived of health, they are deprived of education, the working of panchayat, and the status of tribal women. So there was a high level committee which was established in 2013 under the chairmanship of Professor Varginis Zaza. This committee was constituted to study the 5 critical issues related to tribal community. So what are those 5 issues related to tribal community? First is their livelihood and employment. Because as I have told you that in Manipur, government is the only employer. Government is the only sole employer. So we need to ensure that we can provide that basic livelihood and employment to every tribal group there. Then education. We need to educate the new generation in these, insurgent affected areas, then provide necessary basic infrastructure like health, and then to ensure involuntary displacement and migration. You have to ensure that people do not migrate that easily. Then legal and constitutional matters. You need to give them all the legal protection which they are, entitled to. And the last, what could be the solution? Like the major issue is the migrant problem. So we need to bring in more surveillance in the border areas. Okay, we need to develop more surveillance in the border areas to prevent incursions, migrants from Myanmar. Then we can talk with the Myanmar armed forces so that we can strengthen our economic and diplomatic ties so that the regional stability of that region can be enhanced. So it is possible only if the government of Myanmar, which is presently under the military rule, they support us. Then there is need to maintain the identity of the people along with the border areas to identify the local residents. So we need to, you have strong surveys to identify that which people or what groups are local and the old native residents, and who all are insurgent or they have migrated to that place. Then AFSPA, Armed Forces Special Power Act, also creates problem at different occasions. So we need to resolve this issue, and we need to implement AFSPA in a limited manner. And at last, the government should foster the participation of the people of the region in decision making process to instill a sense of ownership and belonging. So this is it, guys. This is all about how you can add some important relevant points for answer writing. So I hope you like this video. If you enjoyed the discussion, do not forget to hit like and share this video with your friends. So guys, if you are thinking of joining a complete comprehensive course for UPSC, for especially CSE 24, you can use the code Srirams. With this code, you will get a holistic coverage for all the topics, like all the stages of the exams will be covered: prelims, mains, interview, optional, essay, answer writing. Each stage of UPSC preparation is covered. You just have to use the code Srirams. With this code, you will get a flat 25% off. These are the list of optionals that we offer at Sriram IAS, which includes geography and anthropology as well. So you need just to use this code to avail the best offer. Like right now, there is a very high off that you are getting. There is a huge discount that you are getting with this code. You can get all these under one discounted price of 26,249 rupees. So the price of this course is close to 55,000, and you are getting almost a 50% off on the subscription. Okay, so there is a very huge off that you are getting at Unacademy. So do not forget to use this code Srirams. So that's it, guys. This is it for this session. See you in one more session very soon. Till then, thank you. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.